The Insurance Brokers Podcast is brought to you by Sarah Myerscough of Boston Tullis.
Welcome to the Insurance Brokers Podcast with your host, Sarah Myerscough. This business podcast is for ambitious brokers determined to grow their business. Our guests are highly experienced industry experts and innovators. This is the place to leverage their success, learn how to break through barriers to growth, and discover a community of support and ideas whilst growing your business.
Good afternoon, Andrew. Fifth time lucky on our podcast. I'm really grateful to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us.
I'm delighted to be here, Sarah. I'm so sorry about the other 4 occasions.
Life happens. I totally get it. So, Andrew, today, I'm quite excited about today's conversation. I know you guys are going through some incredible things at Artesian, and I think the topic for today is quite important in today's business language, and that is data. Data and how it drives business intelligence, which in turn drives customer engagement, which in turn drives customer growth. And I know you are the man to talk about that. So do you want to give us a bit of an overview about who Andrew Yates is, how you came to be where you are at Artesian, and the exciting news you guys have just gone through?
So I'm Andrew. I'm a father of 2. Been in tech my whole life. I'm 53 years old now. 30 plus year career in tech. I originally trained at university to be a sports scientist, and my ambition was to play rugby for England. I almost made it, wasn't good enough. Did a postgrad in marketing and then got offered a job in software, and that's how I got going. Very early in my career, I worked for a business intelligence software company called Cognos. They're now part of IBM, and at Cognos I met 2 guys there that I went on to create what was my second software company that I created, a company called Artesian. Those 2 guys were called Mike Blackadder, real name, not a stage name, and Steve Borthwick, not the rugby player. And our big idea behind Artesian was to kind of create a next generation business intelligence platform where we were using unstructured data sourced from the outside, sourced from things like the internet, social media, news, Companies House, as a way to tell you all about the companies that you might want to engage with and the people inside them. So that was the big idea behind Artesian, and that's how in the last 30 years I've gone from university postgrad to where we are now.
So when did you start Artesian? How old is the company?
Company's around about 12 years old. With any software business, it takes a little while to build the software and persuade 1 or 2 brave customers to adopt it early. We got lucky. Barclays Bank was our first customer, closely followed by HSBC, Santander, NatWest, and then we started to branch out into the insurance and insurance broking community. So we've seen a slow, steady rise in the growth of the company. I've got about 240 customers on the Artesian side. Just recently, though, a big milestone for the company was we merged with a company called Judil. Judil are perhaps best known in the kind of data augmentation, data ingestion space. They have some very cool tech that can consolidate data from, I think at the last count, it's something like 32 different data sources, and they can piece the puzzle together using graph technology, very similar to the way Google indexes its data so that you can kind of find answers to questions quickly. They've got something like that they do for business information. The Judil company dined out on the mantra, we're the story behind every business. And that's complementary to the description we give, which is we give you the stories for every business that you can then use to engage with that company. So in the last couple of months, we've integrated and merged those 2 companies together, and that now means we're kind of bigger force in the UK market. specialising in financial services and insurance. And it also means that we can combine our forces to achieve some really interesting things, I hope interesting things and exciting things for the customers we have and new customers that are going to come along.
I think it's really interesting, and I'm interested that your journey started in software so long ago, without being offensive. But actually, I can imagine that what you've seen in the last 5 years in terms of how data is being used to transform business and global economies is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's something I'd point out though, which is whilst data is like the crude oil that you get out of the ground, it's not until you refine it that it really becomes particularly valuable. Hate to use the analogy of oil and petrol given what's going on at the moment, but what we always saw as the opportunity was to extract the value from the data by using leading data science to really understand what the potential of the data was, and most importantly the kind of context and meaning and relevance to the person consuming it. So it's kind of like, here's some data, but we turn that into business information by making it relevant to you and explaining to you why it's relevant, and most importantly what you should do about it. So if you look at what we do now in the kind of Artesian due deal combination, we really combining leading data science with the world's best business information sources, but then adding quite a lot more to it to make it super useful to address big challenges in the insurance and insurance broking segment. So the three leading ones would be find me new customers and find me the right customers. There's an increasing emphasis on not just finding customers, but finding the right customers that are going to be the most profitable, lucrative, or the ones that you're actually allowed to onboard. And then the process of onboarding them quickly, and then keeping them for a lifetime, or at least as long as is economically and commercially viable. And that's through the combination of being able to spot early warning signals, and they could be opportunities or risks, but also that ability to be able to continue to add value and add service. I've been expecting an insurance broker to call me any time now, given the fact we're just double the size of my company and I'm going to need some new insurance. And it's kind of like really obvious, the signs are there. If you're using Artesian, we would tell you that this company's just merged with this company, call them and talk to them about this. So we can literally, for example, read the news, understand the context of what it means within the context of that customer, and then send it to a specific salesperson and say, now do this. And if you think about the fact that we're also busy, that's a real godsend to a lot of the organisations we work with, particularly because we can do that at scale.
I think you're absolutely right. So was that an open invitation for anybody listening to the Insurance Brokers podcast to give you a call and sell you insurance?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a very easy guy to reach. CEO at artesian.co.
Oh, fabulous. As long as you can sell Artesian back and you're onto a win-win situation. Do you know what?
I have to say our current insurance broker is actually a user of Artesian. So.
Oh, fabulous. So you've hit the nail on the head there, and I have questions around it. So data interpretation is a really difficult thing to do. And even within, and I'm an Artesian user, so even within the context of Artesian, there is such a huge amount of data, understanding what I need to pick out and how, yes. I mean, I'm scratching the surface of my Artesian use. Yeah. There is so much more I could be doing, but I don't. How do you help people with that? Because that is the biggest problem, I think, for business owners now.
Yeah, so, there's a principle called a sweet spot, right? Which is where you kind of circle the wagons on the thing that's going to deliver the most value. So we're constantly trying to train the algorithm to look for that and use things like ranking, something grand called ranking heuristics. What it means is that I'm going to push that to the top of the list for you, because I know that statistically there's a reasonable chance, a very good chance, that that's going to be super interesting for you, and also how you might consume and use that. But here's the other big wave that's going to happen kind of behind the scenes of the tech industry. There's going to be an emergence of low code, no code kind of business rules and decision engine type technology. And again, these are kind of grand words, but here's the basic idea. You're a literate user of tech, Sarah. I know enough about you to know that that's true. But I would guess that you don't know how to program, is that, and code? Is
that would be a very good guess, and my children would challenge the first part of your statement.
Right. So switch it on and off, right? So that's true of, I'd say, 99.9% of business people, right? They know tech, they know how to use it, but they don't know how to do things like coding and. An Excel we can probably add up, take away, divide, produce a forecast report, but beyond that we don't get into macros and stuff like that. So our big idea in terms of the next wave is that we can take the knowledge that's in your head and match that to either something that's a kind of preset kind of set of rules, or you can kind of explain what you want and very quickly assemble that just by kind of dragging and dropping a few different things. So it might be that you're in the trade finance arena, in insurance broking, and there's already a set of capabilities for people who sell trade finance. And you can say, I'll click on that and I'll apply that to the available data for this company. So what's going to happen now in terms of the next advancement is, rather than us polishing up the data and turning it into information, news, insights, key data excerpts, what we're going to do increasingly is we're going to take all of that goodness and we're going to aggregate it further and interpret it further to say, here's what it means to you in relation to that product or service or commercial pursuit, and here's what you should do about it. And we're calling that engagement signals, and it's where we can literally, for example, read a balance sheet and a profit and loss and kind of work out where the opportunity is, do the maths, and then actually present the action to you with the facts that support that. And a machine can be doing that, so that the human can take advantage of all of that all of that cleverness, and then look extremely impressive when they reach out to the customer to have the conversation about something which is going to be based on the customer's factual circumstance. That's where this is heading.
And I can see sort of the technological advancements that you're talking about coming in loads of different walks of sort of global economics, business, industries, blah, blah, blah.
Would you like some use case examples maybe in
yes.
insurance and insurance broking? So without naming names, because different customers want to use the technology in different ways. Let me give you kind of three flavors. I can actually name one name. So QBE, David Jones, who's the director of underwriting there at QBE, saw the potential to kind of codify the know-how in the underwriting team's head, the things that they would normally do in terms of using different data sources from different systems in different ways to get to a position in terms of underwriting risk. Use the Artesian Connect kind of framework to codify that formula, and then be able to just apply that formula by hitting a button each time a proposal comes along. So that's an example of how you automate the underwriting process. Another customer is at the moment trying to pull together a bunch of disparate teams that through acquisition has meant that the company has grown quickly overnight. They have a centralized team, but they have a bit of a decentralized kind of structure around that centralized team. So having a single way that you go about trying to generate business using data, insight, and then the techniques you layer on top of that is extremely valuable. And then a third use case would be an organization that's now in the central team that's got a data enrichment problem. Just matching up things like names, addresses, postcodes, and then being able to potentially screen a whole book of business, hundreds of thousands of customers in one sweep to say, show me where the opportunities are, show me where the risks are from an exposure standpoint. So, they would be three ways that this technology I'm describing is already in use in the UK insurtech space.
Insurtech is a word, that's on everybody's lips. But what about the broking community that I don't want to say of old, because there's a lot of very relevant, very fabulous relationship-orientated provincial brokers out there that are not big on the tech. How this could drive a sales focus, a sales growth plan, is something we use with our clients, with you guys. So I understand it, but I'd love you to give us a bit of an overview on that.
So I'll tell you a bit of a story, and as always, take a little bit of a risk, right? So 10 years ago we had this great idea. Why don't we kind of put this personal assistant together that's in your pocket on your mobile phone, that's going to tell you loads of cool stuff about the organisation you're about to meet and make you look highly credible and make you feel great, right? That was the big idea. And I remember having a conversation with a gentleman. I don't remember his name, and I probably wouldn't share it if I did, but he was, I guess, what you'd call a kind of, an old school, broker. I think it's fair to say he's probably retired now. And I remember him getting really upset with me about this idea, because he said, I don't want people spending all their time kind of poking around your website, as he called it, when they could be out talking to customers, or better still, they could be on the golf course closing deals. And I said, we're very much here to assist with that customer journey, and I would argue that we're going to save a ton of time because obviously the broker's going to be doing the research around the company, and that takes a lot of time. And I remember what he said to me. He said, we don't need to do research, we just build relationships. And of course he was right. But the beauty of what we do and how simple we make that, and how we make that work on an iPhone is that anyone can take advantage of it. So if you're running a successful regional, even dare I say it, kind of lifestyle business, this is for you, right? If you're part of one of the largest, fastest growing broker networks, this is definitely for you. It scales from a single person up to our largest customers got 3,000 users. So this is not a kind of revolution. This is today. I expect someone that's trying to sell me a product or a service to have done the research on my company, on me, know about what's going on in my world. I just expect that now. And I think, and I'm a 53-year-old guy, right? I would expect that anybody in a leadership role that's in their late 20s, early 30s will definitely expect that, because they've grown up with that kind of whole mentality of kind of Googling things and using various social media to get facts and figures and information together. So so this is the now, it's not the future, and you've got to kind of get with it if you're gonna.
I've had some really interesting conversations through the Insurance Brokers podcast around how tech has changed the buying cycle, the selling cycle, the customer journey, but also the expectation. And I'm doing a piece of work at the moment with a mid-sized broker on leadership and coaching, but also how we can use what we know and what we can find available on people, on businesses, on groups of people to further develop those conversations. And I think it's really important. And another thing is, digital natives, the 20s and the 30s of today, it's the first place they go. So if you do not have a presence and you can't find out stuff, or you haven't found out things, it's a problem. One of the things that's interested me recently is this Superscript and Amazon partnership. So through Amazon Prime, you are now going to be able, through an insurtech company, to buy your SME business insurance and turn it off and on as you want to. That is an example of a customer journey got right. And there was an opportunity there, which I'm assuming Artesian could have told you about.
Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely. And in fact, AWS are one of our larger customers as well. Obviously, not on the insurance side, but in the kind of core business that they do. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, but think about. So I've got a counter to that, right? Which is, in times gone by, we would work with our broker because that was the only person, that was the only place we could go and get the insurance, right? There wasn't the internet, and we didn't really understand the complexities of insurance, and it was kind of like, I know a guy and he or she will sort you out, and that was kind of like how that relationship worked back in. Now obviously we can Google it, and we can, within a few seconds, we can be presented with 5 or 6 alternatives. And if you think about what happened in banking not too long ago, when all the challenger banks popped up and they said no charges, you can have your checkbook and your check card, before you leave the branch. If you open an account, you can open an account online. People went for that, but there's kind of been a swing back the other way, where the real value that people add to the process and the service, people miss, right? And that's the key now. We've got to be knowledgeable about our customer. We've got to anticipate their need, and we've got to be ready to guide them. But at the same time, they will still value that interaction if we get that right. So there are going to be some very small businesses that take advantage of the Amazon Superscript opportunity, and who knows, it might become a force in the market. Probably will, with the backing that Amazon have and the reach that they have. But there's still no substitute for getting to know your customer, getting it right, but mechanizing that process at scale using the kind of tech that is now out there from companies like Artesian Judel. Absolutely,
and I think if you're thinking it in terms of percentages, some research that I was involved with the client was 4% of people are ready to buy, 50% are sitting on the not ready to buy, I'm not looking, I don't want to know, and the rest are umming and ahhing. Being there during that 4% is everybody's dream goal, and this helps you do that. And prepping and priming during the I'm on the fence is what you need to be doing to build the pipeline, and this is what helps you do that. So I use Artesian on a daily basis. Some of our clients now use Artesian, so I'm bought into the process.
I remember negotiating that deal with you, Sarah. You were very, very hard.
Oh dear, Andrew, I am really grateful for your overview, because data interpretation is something that I both love and hate on a daily basis, and I think I'm going to go back to your team and say, I'm scratching the surface, help me get more out of this.
Absolutely, and you'd be very welcome to do that. And I think, again, it's our obligation as a software company. One of the big things about our company is, we help you get to value and keep it. And whether you're a very small organization, a very large one, that's part and parcel of the kind of the gig. I'm super excited about what comes next for Artesian Judel. We're working on a really exciting partnership which we'll hopefully be able to tell your listeners about in the short term, that I think is going to really bring a lot of what I've been saying into the kind of day-to-day mainstream and touch a far greater percentage of the community. So I'm super excited about that. Can't wait to tell you about it, and thanks for the opportunity to catch up today.
Well, I'm grateful for your time, and let's get something in for the next big announcement, and we'll be on point on that. So that'd be awesome. Thank you very much.
Great to see you, Sarah.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you have enjoyed what you have heard, have any questions or feedback, please leave us a review and we will be sure to get back to you. If you would like further information on how Boston Tullis Group can support your business, or if you would like to join us on an episode, please do not hesitate to contact us.